My mom kept me locked up for years because I was too beautiful. I get her back by charming her boyfriend and escaping. We all know Rapunzel's story. My first book was a collection of fairy tales. I grew up reading about helpless princesses imprisoned and abused by evil stepmothers and witches. At first, I didn't make the connection that my life had so many parallels to those stories. But it did. I was pretty much Rapunzel. Only, in my case, my own biological mother didn't need an evil stepmother or witch to do the torturing and locking up. She managed all that well enough by herself. Hi, I'm Shia, and for years, my mom locked me up in my room because she said I was too beautiful. But I got her back by charming her new boyfriend and escaping. At first, I thought it was just because my mom was overprotective. For as long as I can remember, I've only ever been able to exist within the four walls of our house. Sometimes she allowed me out on our backyard, but mostly I was confined to my room. I considered it a special day when she let me roam the rest of the house freely. I was homeschooled, obviously, so I never really grew up having any friends. All I had was my mom, and that made me extremely dependent on her. It had always been just the two of us. She told me my dad passed just before I was born. I learned everything from her, and everything she taught me, I just believed. Because what reason would she have to lie to me, right? Turns out, she had plenty of reason to lie, and she did it often. At first, she kept me indoors for convenience. A single mom who worked from home, it was easier for her to keep an eye on me while she was working. She said she didn't trust other people to look after her only daughter. She made it sound like it was common to primarily exist indoors, and that it was all chaos in the outside world. I believed her. Whenever my mom would drive to get us groceries and other supplies, I remember being so scared for her safety. I thought she was risking her life just by stepping one foot out the door. But as soon as I hit puberty, her reasons changed. She told me I had to stay in my room because I was too beautiful, and that my beauty would attract all manner of misfortune and bad people. She said she just wanted to protect me, from being kidnapped, from getting my heart broken, and from all the evil boys who would seek to tear me away from her. I had my doubts sometimes. I would sneak out and listen in to the TV shows she watched in the living room sometimes. When she watched movies, the stories enchanted me. I began to dream about meeting a boy and falling in love. I began to dream about going outside and going on dates. But sometimes I would sneak out, and instead of light-hearted rom-coms, my mom would be watching the news. And when I listened in from my hiding place at the stairs, I would often hear about horrible things happening everywhere in the world. Girls and boys going missing, buildings burning, storms, earthquakes, kidnappings, and more often than not, I'd hear about people getting killed. The news proved my mom right. It made me feel silly that I even expected the outside world to be anything other than what she described. Not only did girls tend to get kidnapped and hurt, pretty much everyone out there was suffering some type of misfortune. On news nights, I would silently thank my mom for doing everything she could to protect me. That all changed when she brought home a strange man. His name was Bill. He was tall, handsome, and considerably younger than my mother. "This is Bill. He'll be staying with us from now on," my mom told me the day she introduced Bill to me. "You be a good girl around him, okay?" I hid behind my mom and looked up at Bill's face. "Nice to meet you, Bill," I said. Bill took my hand and pulled me towards him. He held my chin between his thumb and finger, lifting my face up so he could look me in the eyes. I turned away, shy and afraid of the stranger. "She's even prettier than you, Beth," laughed Bill. "You better keep an eye on this one. She's bound to break some hearts." That made me blush. My mom was not impressed. She snapped at Bill, pushed me aside, and ordered me back to my room. When I trudged up the stairs, reluctantly obeying my mom, I heard her hiss at Bill. "So you think she's prettier than me, huh? You sure about that? How about you get her to fund your dreams of having a modeling career?" Bill grew quiet, and then he said, "Damn, I was just kidding, babe. You know no one's as beautiful as you. I heard the sound of gross, wet kissing. I ran back to my room and shut the door. Bill wasn't all too bad when I got to spend time with him. Sometimes he'd tell me all about the outside world. When my mom would be away, he'd even tell me stories about his own exploits, his travels to different countries and the adventures he'd gone on. To hear him tell it, the world wasn't as bad as I thought. He sneaked me a smartphone one day and finally I had access to the internet. I soon found out the world wasn't all doom and gloom. After all, it wasn't nearly as bad as what my mom made me believe. I found social media, and I found places like Reddit. There were some horrible cretins for sure, but for every troll, there was just as many well-meaning, kind, special people. For a couple of years, I unlearned what my mom taught me. Under the sheets late at night when everyone was asleep, my phone taught me all I needed to learn. Finally, I was getting a more accurate picture of what it was really like out there. I began to dream of being outside again. I began to dream about meeting boys and falling in love again, and it was all thanks to Bill. Bill and I became very close after he gave me that phone. Sometimes he'd smuggle a bag of fast food into my room. I didn't even know what a Philly cheesesteaks or French fries were before then. All my mom ever fed me were salads and bland chicken. Sometimes, when she was feeling generous, she'd make me lasagna. I love lasagna, mainly because it wasn't salad or chicken. One time, Bill brought me pizza. It blew my mind. And then one fateful day, he brought me donuts. Like, holy crap! How isn't everyone just eating donuts all day, every day? But, unfortunately, like all good things, Bill's food smuggling days came to an end. Bill and I were laughing amongst ourselves on the hammock in our backyard. He was lying down in it, and I sat by in his lap. The box of donuts lay between him and me, and we were tucking into it as Bill regaled me with tales of him and his friends going on wild nights out. I was so fascinated that I didn't hear Mom's car door. Neither of us heard the front door, and we didn't even hear her shoes on the patio deck. Only when she freaked out at the sight of us did we even register her presence. "What in the blazing hell is this?" Mom exclaimed. Her eyes were wide as saucers, and in their depths I could only see hysteria and fury. I immediately jumped off the hammock. I knew Bill and I were close friends, and I thought nothing of being close to him. But my mom did not like me touching him one bit. "Get your claws off my boyfriend!" she yelled at me. What is this?" She lifted the donut box for Bill. "Why are you feeding my daughter this crap?" Bill could only stare at the ground. "It's not his fault, Mom," I said. "I asked him to bring it for me, and they're not bad at all. Some of the food he gives me are actually pretty good." My mom turned on me. "And what do you think you're doing out here in the backyard? Why aren't you in your room? How many times— Wait, what? Some of the food? How many times has this waste of space brought you food from the outside?" She glared. I realized I shouldn't have said what I said, so I did my best to cover it up. But being a shut-in for so many years did not equip me with the ability to lie. So instead, what came out of my mouth was, "It was only a few times. I don't know why you never make pizza. Pizza's amazing. I'm tired of salad and chicken, Mom." All my truth just tumbled out. I didn't see Bill for a while after that day, and it made me really mad. But Bill sometimes found ways to visit me. He would climb on the roof and hang outside my window. If only my windows didn't have bars on them, I could let him in. He said my mom threw him out, took his keys, and they only meet up at his place now. He said, according to her, he was a bad influence on me, and that I needed to have zero contact with anyone other than her from then on. But whatever. She's just jealous that Bill liked me more than her. One day, I came up with an idea. I would escape my mom's prison, and Bill would help me break free. Bill reddened further, and then he said, "Tell me what to do." "Tomorrow," She always falls asleep in the laundry room after 3 p.m. on Sundays. She won't hear us. The dryer makes a racket, and even that doesn't wake her. Come with a big bag and something to get the screws loose off these bars, I instructed Bill. Tomorrow, said Bill, and then he kissed the glass in my window and disappeared. I thought that was pretty silly of him, but also it made my heart skip a beat. My heart had never beat as fast and as loudly as it did when Bill pried the bars of my windows open as I filled the bag he brought for my clothes. When my shoes thudded on the ground below, the feeling of freedom washed over me like a wave. But then our front door burst open. Mom's eyes were wide as saucers when she saw me and Bill. "What are you doing? Get back inside! Come here right this instant!" But I was done with being her prisoner. I wanted to live. I wanted to be free. So even though I knew it would hurt her, I turned and ran. Bill and I ran as we held hands. Behind us, I could hear my mom wailing. "You traitors! How dare you! Don't you ever come back! Both of you! Don't you ever come back here again!"